Hello, everyone. Adam Bergman here, tax attorney and founder of IRA Financial. And I got breaking news for all of you. New IRA and 401k legislation is about to be passed and signed into law by President Biden. Now, this is probably the most crucial retirement legislation in the last 3 years. So what am I going to do? I'm going to simplify for you so you understand all the key provisions in this very, very important retirement legislation. The retirement legislation is known as Secure Act 2.0. And you've heard me write about it, speak about it, whether it's through podcasts or videos, probably for the last 7-8 months. There was various House versions, Senate versions. We finally got a final bill. But like everything in Washington, final bill is a monster. It's 4,000 pages. It's part of the $1.7 trillion spending bill or omnibus bill. And the retirement section of it is the Secure Act 2.0 is over 400 pages. And let me tell you, it's not written by a literary scholar. It's literally written by like actuaries. I wouldn't even say attorneys. It is so complicated. It took me the last 2 days to kind of go through everything and get some help from colleagues. But what I wanted to do is I've written a blog, which I'll post a link to. But I wanted to spend some time going through all the key provisions. There are 90 plus provisions. So in this 400 plus pages of Secure Act 2.0, which is part of the larger omnibus $1.7 trillion spending bill, 90 plus retirement provisions. I summarized them to about 25 or 26. These are the most, I think, important 25 provisions that relate to IRAs, self-directed IRAs, solo Ks, and 401k plans. Okay, so I did that all for you. Why? Because I don't want you wasting your Christmas or New Year's going through 400 pages of just the most difficult language and poorly written text I've kind of ever written and ever seen written. So President Biden expects to sign this probably on the 23rd. So that's it's not law yet. It's going to be law, though. I promise you. It was supposed to be passed by the House and Senate and sent to the president last night. That didn't happen. It's Chuck Schumer, senator from New York, said it was going to be done this morning. As far as I can tell, I haven't heard anything, but it's going to pass. Why? Members of the House, Senate, they want to go back home for Christmas. President Zelensky from Ukraine is in town. So there's lots of meets and greets, and they want to get this done. Plus, the government needs to keep rolling, and they need to get the spending bill done. So it's a fait accompli. It will get done. Just a matter of when it gets signed. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Let's go through, I'd say, the next 25 or so, the key, most important 25 provisions from this monster Secure Act 2.0. Secure Act 1.0, which passed December 2019, hard to believe, it was pre-COVID, seems like a million years ago, but that was the first major piece of retirement legislation in 10 plus years. And I like Secure Act 1.0, other than the limitations on the stretch IRA. I was pretty much in favor of everything from Secure Act 1.0. Well, let me tell you, Secure Act 2.0, just to give you a preview, it's a great bill, okay? I think members of the House, both sides of the aisle, Democrats, Republicans, same with the Senate Finance Committee, Ways and Means Committee, they did a fabulous job putting this together. If you want the two themes of this bill, the first is to make it easier on Americans to save, which is great, right? We all can support that, whether you're Democrat or Republican, independent. We all believe and understand the importance of the retirement system, why it works, right? It's based off simple mathematics. The more you save, you take advantage of the power of deferral, compounding returns, and you're going to have more money at the end of the day to help you and your family enjoy retirement. So it works, okay? It's not as controversial as obviously gun rights and abortion. So that's why you do see bipartisan support. Democrats and Republicans have worked together to really put a very, very, I think, well thought out bill together. Now, Do I wish we had more time to review it and it wasn't kind of thrown down our throats right before Christmas? Of course. But that's how Washington works, right? You generally don't have weeks and months to kind of digest a bill, especially at the end of the year with Christmas, New Year's, and everyone in Washington wanting to go home. And we have also horrible weather across the country. So there's extra incentive to get home early. So that's why this was getting jammed down our throat. But we had time to kind of break down these provisions because a lot of them are very similar to the House and Senate versions that have been released over the last 7-8 months. So the first and most important provision, because it starts January 1, 2023, it's really the only provision that mandates a start date of January 1, 2023, is that the required minimum distribution, the RMD age, is being moved from 72 years old, which it is in 2022, to 73 years old starting in 2023, January 1, and going all the way to age 75 in 2033. So in sum, over the next 10 years, RMDs are going to go from 72 to 75. But interesting enough, the RMD age will increase January 1, 2023, from the age of 72 to 73. So basically, if you turn 72 January 1, 2023, you got a reprieve. Whereas if Secure Act 2.0 was not passed, you're already in the RMD cycle and you have to start getting your first RMDs by April 1, 2024. Now that has been pushed an extra year. So the RMD provision is the only provision that mandates a start date as of January 1, 2023. So it's super important to focus on it, especially if you are going to turn 72 in 2023. You got an extra year to kind of hold on to a bit of your money, which is great. What does this provision teach us? Well, we're all living longer, which, kudos to that, thankfully. So this was important. The Secure Act 1.0 moved the RMD age from 70.5, which was always a kooky, stupid thing, to 72. And 3 years later, they're moving it from 72 to 73, and then ultimately to 75 in the next 10 years. So another, obviously a very good provision. Why? Because the more time we have with our money without having to take RMDs, required minimum distributions, the more time that money can grow without tax, which is known as deferral. Compounding returns, your money should double every 8 years, assuming an 8% rate of return. Basic mathematics, thanks to Albert Einstein, who coined compounding returns, the eighth wonder of the world. It's really the hallmark of the retirement system. Let's go to the second provision. Again, this is kind of my own made-up list. Well, not made-up list, but made-up rankings, I should say. You may rank them differently. I'm just going to rank them like 1 to 25 in terms of the 90-plus provisions that I think are the most important for self-directed IRA, 401k, IRA Roth holders. So the next one is catch-up contributions for folks that make over $145,000 in a 401k plan is going to have to be in a Roth. So if you make less than 145K and you're part of a 401k, your catch-up contribution, which in 2022 is $7,500, right? If you're under 50, it's $22,500 in 2023 that you can put into a 401k. If you're over 50, you can go all the way to 30. That $7,500 is pre-tax. Okay. In 2024, it's going to have to be Roth if you make more than 145. If you make less than 145, it still can be pre-tax. Again, Rothification, that's an important theme. The first theme was let's incentivize everyone to save. Let's make it easier to offer 401ks. The second theme is Rothification. Treasury, IRS is trying to push more people to a Roth. Now you may be saying, well, that's stupid. That doesn't really make sense. Roths are better, right? Once you're 59 and a half, the Roth's been open at least 5 years. It's all tax-free. Why would they want more people to be Roth? Well, as I mentioned many times prior, governments don't think for the next 20 or 30 years. They're only worried about the next 4 or 8 years, right? The next budget, their next term. And what Roths do is it reduces deductions, right? If you do a pre-tax IRA, you're getting a deduction for, let's say, $5,000 or $6,000, which reduces your taxable income. A Roth is after tax, so it does not reduce your taxable income. So, of course, if you're working on a budget, you don't want deductions because that's going to reduce the amount of tax Treasury, or IRS collects. So obviously, short-term Roths are better for the government. Long-term, they're worse. But as I mentioned, generally, members of the House, Senate are not focused of what's going to happen in the next 20 or 30 years. That's someone else's problem. So Rothification, you will hear me talk about Rothification and incentivization of retirement accounts quite often over the next 20 or so minutes. The third ranking most important provision, I would say, is catch-up contributions for age 60, 61, 62, and 63. You are going to now be able to put away more than, let's say, $7,500 or $1,000 in the IRA. And that's going to start in 2025. And the way it's going to work for non-simple plans is you're going to be able to put away the greater of 10K starting at 60, 61, 62, and 63, or 50% or more than that catch-up amount as of 25, which is indexed for inflation. So we'll see where that amount is in 25, and you'll either be able to put away the greater of 10K or 50% or more of that catch-up. Why? They're trying to help people in the prime retirement age, 60, 61, 62, 63, put away more. Great provision, right? Why not? Let's have more people put away money. If it's a simple IRA, it's a little bit different. It's the greater of 3,500 or 5,000 or 150% of the 5,250 in 2023. So we'll see where that number is in 25, and then that number will be the most you can do a catch up for if you're age 60, 61, 62, or 63. Again, just trying to push more people to save. This is a great provision. What I would have done is just say, hey, let's just make the catch up bigger, right? Like, it's stupid. Why are we just limiting it from age 60 to 64? Just say, okay, instead of once you hit 59.5, instead of having, let's say, $1,000, which we'll see, it will be indexed for inflation in IRAs, so will increase, or 7,500 for 401ks, just make it 15K or something and just leave it. That's what I would do. But at least it's a start, and they're giving people a small window for those 4 years to put away more money. It's arbitrary. It should just be 60 to 70, or 60 to 72, or whatever the RMD age, 73. But it's better than nothing. The next one is a really cool thing. So if you have a 529 plan, which is qualified education plan, lets you put away money after tax. Those funds grow so you can pay for your kids' college, your grandkids, or friends, or cousins, or aunts, uncles' tuition. What happens is sometimes there's excess money in the 529 plan. And then that money becomes taxable. So this is a new provision that's actually not in any House or Senate bill. This was kind of just thrown at us a couple of days ago. Is they said, okay, if there's excess money in that plan, subject to a lifetime limit of 35K, we'll let you put in the IRA limit, and we'll move it from a 529 to a Roth. So let's say the Roth limit is 6,500 or 7,500. We'll let you move from the 529 to a Roth each year, that amount, if you have it in the plan. So instead of being taxed on that income because you don't need it, because you don't have any more qualified education expenses to use for the 529 or qualified tuition program expenses, instead of paying tax on it, we'll let you put into a Roth. Nice gift. Really good provision. This was new. No one kind of saw this coming. It wasn't in any previous bills. So really nice provision and certainly helpful. Next one, allowing simple and SEP contributions made in Roth. Yeah, we know simple contributions, 23 will be $15,500 plus a $3,500 catch up, or SEP IRAs, which will be $66,000 in 23, $61,000 in 22. That's all pre-tax, right? SEP is profit sharing, 20% of your comp, 25% of your W-2. It's all pre-tax. They're going to let you do it in Roth too. Again, toward my theme of Rothification. They hope people will go Roth. Why? Because less deductions, more money to spend. Government likes money. Why? They can spend more on programs and buy votes, right? Any politician, the more you spend, whether it's relief for student loans, whether it's for more military or better schools or better roads, taxpayers appreciate that. And maybe we'll vote or have an incentive to vote for that party because they got a benefit. So having money to spend is a good thing. And deductions reduce that amount. So pushing more people into a Roth is helpful short-term to the government. They want to clean up. The next provision is Roth IRAs have no RMDs, required minimum distributions. Roth 401ks have RMDs. For some reason, it's a little quirk they haven't fixed. Well, they're fixing it now and saying Roth 401ks do not have any RMDs anymore. Irrespective, there was always a solution. You just basically zeroed out your 401k prior to 12/31, your Roth 401k, and they would have zero value, so there'd be no RMD. But now you don't even have to do that. The next important thing is they want to index IRA catch-up contributions for inflation, right? If you notice, the catch-up is always pretty much $1,000. Has been for the last several years. 23, it's 6,500 if you're under 50, 7,500 if you're over 50. They're going to index that $1,000 catch-up for inflation. We're in a high inflation time. If it was indexed for inflation in 23 or 22, I should say, that number would have gone higher than $1,000. Now it will be indexed for inflation, which is an issue they've tried to fix, just never got around to it. Now they're fixing it. The next key provision is they want to make auto enrollment into 401ks easier and more beneficial. Why do they like auto enrollment? Well, the concept is, hey, if you hire an employee and you just automatically enroll them in a 401k, guess what? They're going to save without knowing. And studies have shown that the more people that are auto-enrolled, the more they're going to save, and the more likelihood they won't opt out to save. So IRS wants more incentive to opt in and to make those auto-enrollment percentages higher. So they're going to basically start at 3 and go to a maximum of 10%. The auto escalation will be 1 percentage point per year, up to 10%. And for a safe harbor plan, the cap on the permissible auto escalation would be 15%. Okay. So this won't apply to simples. It won't apply to solos. Clearly, there'll be some grandfather rules in for PEPs and MEPs, which are multiple employer plans. But the idea is let's get more people saving and a higher degree of saving. This is going to kick in 2025. The next provision is the savers match, which is something, the savers credit's been a hot topic for Democrats over the last couple of years. What the savers credit is if you make less than essentially 41,000 for joint filers, indexed, or 71,000 for joint filers. Once you hit 71,000, that credit is zero. But once you're in the sweet spot of like 41 to 71 for married filed jointly, you get a credit, which reduces your tax. The problem with the credit is it doesn't have as much weight if you make 40 or 50K. Why? Your tax rate's pretty much going to be zero anyways. With all itemized standard deductions and credits, you're going to have pretty much a zero tax rate. So the credit doesn't have as much weight. So what they want to do is they essentially want to, instead of just giving you a credit that you may not get a lot of benefit, they want to put 50% into an IRA up to 2K, which is nice, right? And the idea is they're giving you free money into essentially a Roth IRA instead of just giving you a credit that you may not get that much benefit from. I've actually been on this topic for the last 6-7 years. I've written to the IRS, I've written to members of Congress, members of the Ways and Means on this provision to say, hey, if you want to help, people that are, not high income earners, moderate income earners, low income earners, if you want to get them saving, if you want to get them value, do it in a retirement account because that money is going to grow without tax and it will force them to save and keep it for a later point in their life versus just giving them a credit and reducing their current taxable income, which is pretty much low or zero to begin with. So let's get that in a retirement account. It's going to grow without tax, take advantage of compounding returns. Hopefully they'll be incentivized to keep it there because it's in an IRA and it's growing without tax. And that money, that $2,000 for the next, let's say 10 years could turn into maybe 80 or $100,000 when they're retired versus a credit that's not going to have much value and definitely will not be available of any benefit for them down the road. So I praise this provision. It's a really important provision. The next one is they want to do what's called a retirement savings lost and found. Great concept, right? There are billions of dollars out there of retirement money that no one's claiming. Why? because people get auto enrolled in maybe a company. Let's say they work for, I don't know, GE, Boeing, IBM, Tesla. They worked there maybe under a year, right? And they didn't even know they got auto enrolled into a 401k. They didn't realize that like $10 or $50 a pay period was just kind of moved out of their 401k, out of their payroll into a 401k. They just kind of thought it was taxes. They never really thought about it. And now let's say they have $800 or $1,500 or $3,000 and they leave. They change jobs and they never even ask about their money. Why would they not ask about their 401k funds? Because they never knew it existed. So that gets basically sent to what's called a safe harbor IRA, which has a $5,000 limit, which we'll see is going to be raised to $7,000. That's moved from your employer to an IRA custodian, let's say an IRA Financial Trust or somewhere else. And generally those accounts get depleted by fees because those custodians are supposed to look for these folks, but it's very hard. And it's hard to catch people. People change addresses, hard to find people. And every year the fees get drawn from that account. Those accounts get invested into like very basic money markets. And there's generally nothing left like within 5 to 10 years. So they want to create this lost and found where you'll be able to kind of type in your name, social maybe, and it'll be run by the DOL, Department of Labor. And lo and behold, you may say, hell, oh my God, I have $800 or $1,200 in this 401k. I never knew about it. And trust me, the numbers get big. I've heard of stories, someone who is involved with 2 pension administration companies with thousands of plans and hundreds of thousands of participants. We've seen cases where there's upwards of $18,000 that the employee doesn't even know exists. And essentially he gets left behind. And then the employee could die or change address or move out of the country and no one claims that money. So it's a big issue and thankfully they're addressing it. So kudos to the DOL and the IRS for recognizing this issue. They also want to do something what's called a finance emergency savings plan. It's only going to be $1,000 and essentially going to let you pull money out of an IRA or a 401k, not a defined benefit plan, not subject to a 10% penalty if you're under 59.5. So it's kind of like a hardship, giving you an extra $1,000 of a hardship. That's good. It's fine. It's $1,000. It could help. It's not going to be a game changer for many of us, but $1,000 is $1,000. But also what they want to do, the next provision is they want to make self-certification of hardships easier. So right now, if you need to take a hardship distribution from a 401k, you essentially need to get consent from your employer. A little bit more difficult. You essentially need to prove you're going through a hardship. There's a provision in the Secure Act 2.0 that's going to allow you to self-certify and make that easier. So that's cool. They also want to do an emergency saving proposal, which allows, it's going to be capped at $2,500. It's not going to be available for high income earners, but it's going to allow you to, as part of your 401k, it's going to be basically treated as a Roth and kind of stack up to $2,500 in there that can grow, and you can pull those earnings out without tax. So you start at $2,500 and then hopefully those earnings grow. And you can invest them in like a principal preservation type investment. And you can withdraw those funds anytime. It's kind of a rainy day fund without tax. So instead of having it in a taxable savings account that's subject to tax, they're going to let you put it into like a little Roth type 401k that you can take out anytime. It's nice. $2,500 helps. This is good, right? This is all positive. Would we like that to be $20,000 or $30,000? Sure. But it's positive. Next important provision is startup credits for 401k. So not solo Ks, but for 401k, safe harbors, they're going to increase the startup credit, to 100% from 50% for 50 or fewer employees. Why? They want to incentivize small businesses to set up 401ks. Good stuff, right? The more people that have access to a 401k, the more people that are auto-enrolled, the more people are going to save. At IRA Financial, we basically do a 4% non-elected match. So any employee of ours gets automatically 4% of their salary, even if they don't put anything into a 401k. So the more companies that have 401ks, the more folks are going to save. Hopefully they'll be auto-enrolled. And hopefully these companies are going to be doing at least safe harbor matches, but even go above the minimum 3% safe harbor match. And more people will have money in their retirement account, which ultimately will help them down the road for them or their family. So again, kudos to members of the Ways and Means Committee, Senate Finance Committee, Democrats, Republicans, senators, ultimately the president for signing this and encouraging more people, more businesses to open 401ks. This is great. This is a cool thing. They want to basically non-elective contributions. They want to allow you to do this in Roth. So right now, when we do matches, our company does matches or 401ks, it's always pre-tax. They want to permit employers to do this in Roth. So the employer won't get a tax deduction, but they will assist the employee by having those funds in Roth, giving the employee the benefit of a Roth contribution and the ability to pull that out tax-free after the age of 59 and a half. Again, this moves towards the trend of Rothification. This is a very important provision. I probably should have put this up the list, especially for self-directed IRA investors. So right now, if you do a prohibited transaction, and God forbid you do a prohibited transaction, clients of IRA Financial do not do prohibited transactions. Why? Because we educate our clients and make sure they know all the rules so they are not going to do a prohibited transaction. But things happen. So right now, under the law, if you do an IRA prohibited transaction, essentially that whole IRA account is blown up, deemed taxable, subject to potential penalties. Not all of the IRAs you have, but that specific IRA. They're going to change the rules under Secure Act 2.0. So only that specific transaction that was prohibited gets blown up, but all the funds in the IRA, let's say you did a real estate prohibited transaction, but you had also money in cryptos or stocks, those funds will not be impacted. Only the real estate prohibited transaction will be subject to the tax and potential penalty. So really good provision. Probably should have moved that up the list. Next thing, this is more of a 401k provision. They're going to allow employers who are doing matching contributions or 403s or even simple IRAs to do that match into to the employee to pay student loans instead of to just a 401k account. So again, government understands and comprehends the severe issues so many Americans have with student loans. So they're basically saying, okay, if your employer is going to give you free money in a match, we'll let you have them pay your student loans off instead of just dumping into your 401k, because we recognize that paying your student loans off is at this point a bigger issue and a bigger detriment to you and your finances than maybe some cushion in your retirement account in 20 or 30 years. So again, really smart provision. Some companies have gotten private letter rulings allowing them to do this, but now Secure Act 2.0 basically wants to codify that and say you can do it. It's going to start in 24. The idea is, I guess, that income would be, in the 401k, so it should not be taxable to the employee. So it's going to be free money that instead of just going into your 401k, is just going to go to a pay off your loan, and the employer will get a deduction just like it would if it went to the 401k. So it shouldn't matter to the employer, and hopefully it should help the employee, which will ultimately help the employer because they will feel they received a stronger benefit from the employer. They want to basically incentivize more people to save. So they're going to allow employers to give incentives for making 401k contributions. So that's a nice little thing. De minimis financial incentives will be permitted for 401ks and 403s, not IRAs. So like gift cards, I don't know, like extra vacation if you put money in a 401k, some cool stuff like massages. I don't know. We'll see what people do. But it's got to be de minimis, so you can't like give them a car. But you can do some cool stuff like gift cards or extra days off or extra vacation or, like I said, vacation, massages, or who knows what. Like, I'm sure employers will come up with some cool stuff. The next thing is permit penalty-free withdrawals in the case of domestic abuse. So God forbid you're in a domestic abuse or you have a terminal illness, you're going to be able to take out distributions without penalty. You still have to pay the tax, but you won't have to pay the penalty. Next provision for RMD folks. If you screwed up on your RMD, you took too little, or you didn't take because COVID, or you just forgot because the RMD rules are so damn confusing, right? The IRS hasn't even sent out final RMD rules. It's taken them 3 years based off Secure Act 1.0. So who can blame folks if they screwed up taking RMDs? They're going to reduce the excise tax from 50% to 25% of what you fail to take out. And it's going to be further reduced from 25 to 10% if the failure is corrected in a timely manner. So they understand these RMD rules are super complex and confusing. And they understand folks that take RMDs are obviously, 72 plus. So they got all their stuff going on, and sometimes they just kind of make a mistake, right? Without any bad intent. So they're not going to punish them at 50% excise tax. They're going to reduce it from 50 all the way down to 10 if it's corrected in a timely fashion. This is an important provision for solo Ks. Right now, for solo Ks, if you are to be deemed a full-time employee, you have to work 1,000 hours or 3 consecutive years of 500 hours or more. Provision of the Secure Act 2.0 is going to reduce the 3 years to 2. Okay. Why does that matter? Well, obviously, it's going to be easier to satisfy 2 versus 3. And if you satisfy the 2, you move from part-time to full-time, which could potentially turn the solo into a regular 401k, which will then be subject to ERISA and all kinds of plan testing requirements. So they're trying to make more employees eligible for 401k benefits. Again, not amazing for solo 401k plans, but ultimately to get more people participating in 401k. So again, I understand where they're going with it. Kind of makes sense. What else? They're going to allow, if you have a simple IRA, to switch to a 401k mid-year, which was not the case prior. Once again, trying to get more people to save in a 401k plan. And the last thing, this is the last provision I want to talk about that has any relevance, is in the past, if you did an excise, let's say you made an excess contribution to an IRA, you screwed up, right? You put it instead of 6K or 6,500 in 23, you put 7,500. You just messed up. There's an excise tax. Some people weren't sure if also a 10% early distribution penalty would apply on top of that excise tax. Secure Act 2.0 says no. There's no 10% early distribution on excess contributions, only excise tax. So that kind of clarified some stuff. Bottom line, this is a great bill. Okay, very, very positive. I don't know really anyone that had super negative thoughts on it. Again, kudos to Democrats, Republicans for working together and figuring it out, right? Doing what's right and putting together a really good bill. And ultimately, the bill has 2 major themes. Number 1, incentivizing people to save more for retirement. Number 2, getting more people to contribute through a Roth. Okay, so the only mandate for 2023 is the RMDs that moves from 72 to 73. And what I did is I just posted a blog that I just published today into the chat box. So anyone who wants to read more on this bill and more detail on the 25 or so provisions I mentioned, you can now do so at your leisure. Sometimes I talk too quick. I get excited. So now you can kind of go through these provisions and really digest them. If I had to summarize my favorites, I would say the RMD increase. I would say the super catch-ups if you're 60, 61, 62, 63. I would say allowing SEPs and simples to do Roths are pretty cool. I also like the 529 excess rollover to Roths. I liked the indexing IRA contributions, catch-ups for inflation, fixing the Roth 401k RMD rules, so there's no RMDs. I'm okay with auto enrollment. I'm really in favor of forcing people or just encouraging people to save without, and then let them opt out, right? If someone's like, I'm auto enrolled in a 401k and I don't want to save, that's fine. It's your prerogative, opt out, but let them opt out actively. If you proactively make them opt in, you're going to have less people save. And the bottom line studies are so clear as day, that if you get people to auto enroll and you get them increasing those contributions each year, they're going to save more and they're going to be so happy they've done it. When they look back over the last 10, 15 years, they're going to realize that, oh, that extra 20, 30 bucks a week, like, I didn't really need it, but it really made a difference when I was able to take advantage of compounding returns. And over the last 10, 15 years, that 30 bucks a week, like, has led to 50K in extra retirement savings. So I like that. I also liked the saver matches credit, even though it only applies to low income folks. The concept's good, right? Credits don't matter as much to people that don't pay a lot of taxes. Giving them some free cash in an IRA, not free cash to like literally go buy a Gucci wallet, but free cash in their IRA is cool. That's good. I would even go further and lock it and basically not allow them to touch it further to kind of force savings. But we'll see kind of the fine-tuned details how that works. And the lost and found, that's the last provision I really like, because there's so much money just left behind that people could use that they don't even know. Let me get through some questions. What if the company's 401k does not have a Roth option and you are over 50 and make over 145? How can you make the catch up? So guess what? They're going to force plans into Roth. So once that provision gets effective, you're going to have plans forced to do Roths. So you're going to have to amend your plan to do a Roth. Essentially every plan in America is going to have that Roth option. Now it's not the case. A lot of the new plans have Roth options, not all do, but based off Secure Act 2.0 and that specific provision, all plans are going to have Roth. What if the company's 401k does not have a Roth option? Okay, so that's the same question. So yeah, you're going to force people to do Roths, and those plans are going to have Roth options. The next thing, another item that hasn't been really discussed procedurally is the savers credit, the match contribution. How is the money going to actually flow from the government to the employer? They're going to have to figure that out. There's not a lot of details in the bill on this, but all in all, just for the record, this bill is not passed. I'm doing this live version on this live video on December 22nd. It has not passed. It will pass. Okay, it's a fait accompli. It will pass. The president likely will sign it into law before Christmas, probably tomorrow, the 23rd. There was delay. It should have been passed last night. It will be passed today. The members of the House, Senate, they want to go home for Christmas. There's some bad weather on the East Coast, so they want to catch their flights. They don't want to be stuck in Washington for Christmas. So this thing's getting done. Plus, President Zelensky of Ukraine's there, and so there's a lot of activity going on with there. There's some meets and greets, and they're going to want to be busy with that. So this thing's getting done. It's a great bill. It's been in the works for several years. And I just want to, again, give credit to both the Democrats and Republicans on the Ways and Means Committee, the Senate Finance Committee, for working together, bipartisan. There's almost unanimous support. You will not see unanimous support for the omnibus bill because of the spending. There is a number of Republicans that are against the bill because of the amount of spending. But trust me, they're not against the retirement legislations. Secure Act 1.0 was almost passed unanimously. Secure Act 2.0 passed the House and Senate pretty much unanimously as well. The president will sign this into law in the next few days. And I will be doing more videos, more podcasts on this, breaking down specific provisions as more guidance becomes available. But I spent the last 2 days literally reading through 400 pages of legalese. Like I said, this was not written by good lawyers. I'm not sure who wrote this thing. I do credit the folks the Ways and Means and Senate Finance for getting these bills pushed forward, but God, I wish they wrote this thing in English. And this is coming from a tax lawyer who's sometimes not the most easy to read writer. This is painful, but there's a lot of good data out there. I was able to work with a number of my colleagues to kind of focus on, I think, the 25 most important provisions, and here they are. And I dropped the link into the chat box so you can just click on it and kind of read through the blog and ask questions. If you're a client of IRA Financial, you know where to find us. If you're not, well, you should be, but in all seriousness, you can reach out to us, info@IRA Financial, or call us. We'll assist you. The only mandated change that's going to begin next week in 23 is the RMD age from 72 to 73. All other provisions will likely kick in either when the president signs this bill or in 24 or 25, but nothing immediate other than the RMD change from 72 to 73. So thanks for watching. If you're watching live, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. If you're watching at a later point, I want to wish all you and your family happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Appreciate all the support. Have an amazing holiday season. And this is good stuff. This shows the government works. Mathematics, yeah. Obviously, it's going to be hard to get folks on the Democrats and the Republicans to agree on controversial areas like abortion or gun laws or spending or military, stuff like that, foreign policy. But the retirement area is one area that just works. And I wish that this case would apply to more policy areas, because it's so nice to see that, and I've seen it firsthand, just meeting members of the Ways and Means Committee on both sides of the aisle that actually like each other and get along and hang out and go for drinks and want to do what's right for Americans. That's their goal. That's why they're in Washington. They're there to help all of us, and it shows through in the Secure Act 2.0, Secure Act 1.0. We're on the right track to incentivize more of us to save, make it easy to save. And at the end of the day, this is a private retirement system. So if we don't save, no one's going to save for us. We don't live in Sweden or Finland where the government's just going to give us money as we get older. We have Social Security, which is fine, but who knows what happens with that in 20 or 30 years. So it's up to us to save for ourselves, for our family, and kudos to the government, Dems, Republicans, for making it easier for us to do that. So thanks again for spending some time with me today. Have an amazing holiday season, and I'll chat with everyone again next week. Take care, and give it a thumbs up. Yeah, why not? Give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and take care.